Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon, and today I'm going to be talking about how we went from Master to Grandmaster in 3 days, and I actually went from Master to 45 marks in 3 days. So we gained an average of 15 marks each day with a 76.8% win rate so far. These are my stats. We ended our Fiora win streak at 25 games, if you were wondering. But we're going to go into a game and talk about a lot of the mistakes that I've kind of seen from Master, Grandmaster, Challenger level players as we've been climbing, so let's get right into it. So getting into this game, I'm not going to talk super hard about the early game initially. What I'm kind of going to be talking about, we will talk about some parts of the game, but I'm really going to talk about a lot of the things I've kind of seen Grandmaster level, Master level players kind of doing wrong, and sort of like what this might mean in terms of your guys' gameplay or how it might apply to you. So one of the most common things that I've kind of noticed is that especially Grandmaster Challenger level players, I'm laning against a Challenger Yone, by the way. We have 3 challengers on our team this game, so it's more of like a challenger level game. It's one of the higher level games I had. Obviously, a lot of games against grandmasters and whatnot. But most grandmaster challenger level players, they know how to lane. Like, I'll lane against them. Sometimes I'll win lane. Obviously, I'll still win lane more than I'll lose it. But like, I'll lose lane to them sometimes. They'll play well. They'll do fine. They're going to be pretty even. You're going to see this guy's going to be 0-0-0 for a lot of the game early on, and it's not going to be the early game. But it's the late game that a lot of these players really don't understand. If you guys are wondering, by the way, I have a full late game guide. Just look up Talon WR late game guide. I have a full late game guide on my YouTube channel that can give you some information on that. But I'm going to talk about kind of the key things that I see people do in the later parts of the game incorrectly, and kind of the lack of patience that we see throughout the game. So obviously, again, like, we'll go into the early game initially. So kind of one of the biggest things as well around early game is jungle tracking. Whether you are mid, jungle, top, ADC, any role really, I find this to be a big issue. Like, people don't plan their first couple levels based on jungle. So for example here, I wanted the wave to push into me because my jungler was pathing away from me. And so I knew, I don't know where the enemy jungle is going to start, but I do know where my jungler is starting. I know he's going away from me. I don't want to do a bunch of really aggressive stuff. I want to take some short trades, get a little bit of poke, keep the lane right, or the wave right around here, so that the enemy can't punish me super hard. If my jungler was pathing towards me, I would have traded a lot harder. I would have looked for more fighting. I would have created more volatility in the lane. And that's the first thing that I really don't see people doing. I don't see a lot of planning around jungle pathing. What I do see is someone who knows how to combo on Yone, someone who knows how to lane on Darius, someone who knows the limits of their champion. They know when they can execute. They know when they can find a kill angle. But they don't know how the rest of the map functions. They only know how their individual champion wants to play and what they want. They're not thinking about what my champion wants and what I want out of the game. They're not thinking about what the jungle wants out of the game. They're just playing purely with blinders on. And I think playing with blinders on, playing purely for yourself, is actually a really good way to climb to Grandmaster, to Master. You only get good at your champion, you spam, you one trick, and you get good at that and nothing else. I think that's a great way to climb. But I don't think it's a great way to beat a sovereign level player. Like, I don't think it's going to beat me most of the time when these people play like this. I don't think it's going to get you to the very top when you don't know how the rest of the game works. And so that's kind of the difference between these. Again, I've talked about the master mistakes, I've talked about diamonds, I've talked about emeralds, and you guys have seen those are a lot more basic things. Those are lack of patience, lack of understanding level advantages, lack of understanding various different things. Now these people, they can identify their champion strength. They know what they need to do to win a game, but they don't know what the rest of the map needs. And that lack of understanding leads to a lot of games being lost for simple reasons. So like, for example, I had a game where my team was losing, but I was really fed as Fiora. And it was pretty late game. Like, the Baron was up and the Elder was almost spawning. I was side laning on the opposite side of Baron and trying to get my team to pressure the Baron. As I did this, the enemy Baron laner decided to 1v1 me and try to fight me. Him and I were even gold. We were pretty strong, both of us, and there was a decent chance that he could have killed me. I ended up killing him and he lost the game. Now, the reason that this made no sense for him to fight me, even though he was pretty close to killing me and had a chance at killing me, was because his team was way stronger, and what his team wanted was just to find a 4v4 and for him to simply not die to me on side lane, because as the Fiora, I was the one person on my team who was actually fed when everyone else was pretty weak. And so if he just was patient and didn't do anything, he would win the game. But because he felt that his individual champions, say, had a 55% chance of killing me, he felt he needed to go for that because it felt to him like a likely, play that would work out. And so just not understanding, like, holistically, like, yes, you can have a high chance of winning. Your champion could have the potential to outplay here, whatever, but it doesn't matter if the rest of the map isn't going to benefit from that play, or that's like the one way you could lose. And I see a lot of this, a lot of throws in the late game, a lot of not understanding what their champion's job is, a lot of people trying to always be the main character, because there are games where you are supposed to kind of let your team do a lot more, that type of thing, rather than being overly kind of concerned with just your own gameplay. So even here, for example, like as a Fiora right now, my team is on the other side of the map. They're making a play elsewhere. I don't want to fight super hard. Now, will I? Sometimes I'll make the mistake and I'll get greedy and I will fight super hard. But generally what I should be looking for is maybe just a little bit of poke and nothing more than that. Unless I see the enemy jungle contest on the other side and then I know it's a 4v4. But otherwise, again, like Ensemble just died here, for example. I shouldn't trade super hard because Ensemble died. Now, if I see an opportunity to trade like this, I'm not going to like not take it because he's giving me free poke. And so I'm going to squeeze some poke. But I'm not going to like look for an all-in until my team's in a position to follow up. Then now that my team is here, that's when I can look to get more aggro. So like just making these plays around the jungle pathing, around that type of thing, it's really important. And then because we did find the nice trades there still, because he gave us, too easy of an angle, my team's able to get the kill there, and then I'm able to kind of freely take this turret and everything. So that is where it gets even more complicated. And again, the difference between, sovereign player like myself, and just like a master, grandmaster, even in this case a challenger Yone, is just not seeing those certain angles. So again, like he'll trade with me more aggro than he wanted there, probably because he wanted to see if he could get his jungle to gank. That was probably his goal. But the reality was he would be losing that trade pretty hard, and my champion's really good at avoiding ganks with my second ability, with my ultimate, with my healing, and so I wouldn't really be in danger there. And so understanding even like other champs, again, he didn't really understand what my champion could do or how I could trade, and that was really his issue, even though again, he normally would want to trade pretty hard when his jungle's there. So just all these different things are kind of again, the main thing I see as an issue with the kind of grandmaster challenger level players. And now at this point in the game, I kind of understand that the map is not going or the game is not going super well, but I am quite strong. And when I find myself in a situation where I'm pretty strong, my team's not like, they're not feeding, but they're not in a very good spot. And here I figured out that Caitlyn was really fed. I didn't realize how fed she was, but she's actually like absurdly fed at this point. But what you want to end up doing is now you want to try to find ways where you can kind of cycle between multiple lanes to just have a bit of additional impact on the map. So like now that I'd pushed my bot lane out, I wanted to rotate towards mid and just find an angle on that mid wave. And then that gave me an angle to go in and get that kill on Kindred, for example. Rather than just sticking in my lane and playing purely for my own advantage. I kind of understand, again, that the game is probably going to progress in a way where we will just lose if I don't do anything. And so I'm going to find ways where I can eventually, push out a wave and then find an angle to rotate. Or in this case, I'm going for another wave because I have my item spike. And so I want to get my Trinity Force. So again, the difference is like in that previous play, I wanted to rotate because I had nothing really, no purpose of being on the side lane now that I'd pushed it. So I go towards mid, I try to get the gold there. But then in the later play, I have a purpose of being side lane, which is getting enough gold for Trinity Force. Then I end up doing that instead. And then now here again, I pushed out bot. I don't have a purpose being there, so I'm going to go to another part of the map, which in this case, I'm going to go to topside instead of mid because topside is going to be less contested, whereas mid is obviously going to be quite contested by the enemy. And so I have the angle to get the turret. I have the time to get the turret. And then here we do end up getting the stun onto the Echo, getting him. I almost died, but I barely lived there. And so again, a lot of the impact that I'm creating here isn't through like a million fights. I'm not forcing fights all the time. I'm not trying to do anything crazy. What I am doing, I'm making the simple play, I'm getting my lane pushed out, and then I'm seeing what I can do with my time after I push out my lane. Nothing really complicated. A lot of people can do these types of things, but doing this after, again, these other things where I was planning properly around jungle, I was making those plays, setting up my team well, and winning lane, I'm then strong enough where it makes sense for me to get a lot of value out of a rotation after pushing the lane. And so, and again here, once again, what do I do before I decide to make a play with my team? I push out my own lane. And this time I identify that, oh, the Yone is actually really late. He's not going to be here yet. I have a chance to get the entire turret. And so also understanding, like, or being able to make kind of in the moment decisions of what looks best. Whereas my team was already losing the fight did not look well, or did not look good rather. And so it made more sense for me to play for my kind of 1v1. So again, I understood the enemy strengths and my strengths at this point, and I play around that. So like the enemy, they're a lot stronger. They're going to team fight better. I know I can win the side lane fights pretty much guaranteed. Like you can see, I get caught by his ult and I'm still able to just kill him because I'm so much stronger. And so understanding as well, like again, my win conditions, what my champion wants to do, was really why I was able to win there. Whereas Yone, he's thinking, again, like this is actually a perfect example of exactly what I was telling you guys, right? So you remember the scenario I talked about with the Baron, where the guy was 1v1ing me. This Yone, again, he's trying to take a 1v1 on me because he thinks, oh, this is the chance I can outplay. And maybe he's right. Like he was pretty close to outplaying me. If he didn't get hit by all my vitals, he actually maybe could have killed me. But the reality is his team's winning on the other side of the map. All his team needs him to do is sit here and stall and just make sure Fiora isn't able to take over the game. And he doesn't understand that that's his role in the game at this point, and tries to overforce and outplay because, again, the challenger players, they're always going to try to outplay you. They always want to get the perfect play for their champion. And again, he had a realistic chance of outplaying, but there's no point to go for the outplay in these types of scenarios because then you're going to completely throw the game if you end up dying. And if you end up killing, you really don't get that much out of it. Then we rotate and we find the Nautilus here just because pretty straightforward. We go mid after we recall because bots pushed already. But now again, at this point, I'm understanding like my champion's role in the game is to side lane and dominate the side lane. Yone is not understanding that his job is just to sit here and pretty much stall and not do much more than that. And because of that, I'm really able to kind of take over this game so far. And so even here, like I'm understanding if the enemy show mid, I want to just push out the side lane. I'm not going to go to a team fight as a Fiora when the team fights are probably going to be really hard and probably not work out well. When the Caitlyn's so fed, for example, I'm playing around my own strengths, and I'm also understanding the timer that I'm on. So like right now the enemy are fighting, there's 30 seconds until Baron. So even if my team did end up getting caught there around 30 seconds before Baron, they're going to respawn roughly in time. They can buy a TP if they need, and I am still going to be able to probably stall out the Baron for the most part, which is why I was okay with giving that up in that scenario, because I knew I'd still be able to come and potentially stall out. Now in this case, my team do end up inting a bit too hard, and I believe the enemy get the Baron off this. I don't actually remember 100%, but I think they end up getting the Baron. But either way, our goal is just at this point just to stall the Baron. So we do pop our ult and get a decent amount of stalling done. Maybe I end up actually being able to stall. So it does look like we're able to stall, which again was kind of an understanding, right? Like my champion can stall after pushing out the side lane, after getting my power spikes. But if I just grouped with my team and fought right away there, like we probably would have lost the fight. I mean, realistically, like I don't think that was a super winning fight for us, that they lost in mid if I just gave up top turret and just pushed it. So again, it's just like those types of understandings that we have where it's like I'm not over forcing, I'm not trying to do too much. I'm playing around my champion strengths, making sure the enemy aren't able to do what they want to do, which again, the enemy, they'd rather group. Yone would rather be in a team fight. I'd rather be on a side lane. I'm drawing him into my game, and he's just kind of getting sucked into it and just playing for the outplay without really thinking, again, about the bigger picture. And that's the biggest thing. Like, people, they don't think about the bigger picture, and they're not thinking about what they need to do to actually progress the game to a win. They're going to outplay me in lane sometimes. They're going to get leads, but they're not going to know how to push their leads. They're not going to know really what to do beyond a certain point in the game, and that's really the biggest issue that I've noticed. So I know I've obviously been reiterating myself a lot. Generally, that's the purpose of my videos. I try to have one or two main focuses of a video and repeat it a lot so you guys understand kind of how it looks in different contexts or different situations. Nothing too complicated, because that's how I go about improving. I find one or two things to improve on at a time, and so I give you guys the one or two things that you could improve on based on whatever individual video we're talking about. And then again, in this case, it's pretty straightforward. We see an angle to try to kill someone, so we go for it. We get the stun onto the Yone, or we don't get the stun, but we block his ultimate, and then my team's able to do pretty well in the fight after there. And so again, as it relates to Fiora, I'm almost never wanting to be the one starting the fight. What I'm almost always wanting is I want to be pushing a side lane, and then I want to be able to find a flank angle from the side lane that I was pushing. So like, my team might be fighting in mid, or they might be setting up for a fight in mid, or a fight around an objective. I want to make sure that before I go to that fight, I push out the mid lane, or I push out the side lane. That way, the enemy are pressured to try to go and cover the side lane, and then if they don't cover the side lane, I get that free pressure, and I'm still able to find a flank angle in the fight, because I want to fight later. I don't want to be the first one in the fight. I want to join the fight when spells have been used, when the enemy are distracted, when they're split up from their team, because I can't initiate a fight. I'm more of an assassin type of champ in a team fight, and so I want to wait for the fight to kind of break out anyway, so I might as well use my time well. So again, like, I have that understanding of what I want to do in the context of the entire game, whereas a lot of people, they only know what their champion wants in terms of, I want to fight you here, I know my limits are this, and it doesn't really go beyond that. And because of that understanding, again, I'm able to carry a lot more games in the late game, even if the early game doesn't go well. So even here, I understand, like, Randuin's Omen is extremely OP in this game. So now that I hit my Randuin's Omen, I'm insanely hard to kill. Like, they have 3 crit champions at this point, so I just know, like, Randuin's Omen is built. I build Frozen Heart later too because they have a bunch of auto attackers, and now I kind of can't die, so I can at this point actually team fight pretty effectively. Like, it actually is not a bad thing for me anymore to be fighting with them. So even understanding stuff like that, specific builds that work against specific comps, those types of things can be useful as well. But I don't mind taking control of the side lane when it's easy as well. Obviously, we're still going to try to push out the side, and at this point, ending the game is pretty straightforward. Kindred gets caught for free here, and then now we just go, we group, and we team fight with the enemy, flash on the Caitlyn, and we end up killing her. And again, all pretty simple stuff here. At this point, I think I tried chasing Nautilus, but unsuccessfully. But yeah, either way, at this point, everything's pretty straightforward. Another thing I've noticed, by the way, is how often people throw at Baron. I just thought that was important to mention. Like, they never know when they can kill Baron, and they always try to get greedy over it. If you're not sure whether or not killing a Baron is possible, don't go for it unless you're behind. Because if you're behind, it's fine to take risky plays and do a Baron where you're not sure of. But if you're ahead in the game, there's no reason to take a risky Baron when the game is probably naturally going to be a win anyway if you just play normally. So wait until you win a fight, wait till you kill the jungle, then you can go for it. But a lot of people, again, there's so many throws happen at Baron. Like, I've had, like, my 25 game Fiora win streak, at least 5 games were, like, because the enemy threw a late game or threw at Baron, some insane stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's not, I still don't know how I won 25 straight games on Fiora. Most of the games were Master too, and some were Grandmaster games. I know I'm smurfing, obviously, like, I'm on a smurf account, so it makes sense to win a lot, but I was kind of surprised by how many games we won in a row there. My throat kind of hurts, so I kind of clear my throat there. But now at this point as well, I understand, like, with my Baron into the Elder, I just want to keep pressure on the lanes so that the enemy can't contest Elder super well, so my team don't throw. Like, I'm pretty much sitting here, I'm literally just getting pressure in the side, in the mid, just making sure that the enemy, they don't really have much they can do, and then if this guy gives me an angle to all in on him, obviously I'm going to do so. And he does give me one where we're able to get the block on his stun, and everything's pretty easy here. I don't quite pop the Vital because he hugs the wall. We eventually pop it though, and then we kill the Kindred as well because our Elder comes up at the perfect time, and we're able to end the game. So yeah, we did get Grandmaster from Master in 3 days. We actually got up to 45 marks from 0 marks in 3 days, which I thought was pretty fast, you know. Pretty good climbing overall, like 77% win rate, as you guys saw, which I think is solid. Again, we're all solo queue, by the way, all solo queue top lane. And these are some of the things, again, I've seen kind of Grandmaster players, they really don't understand the context of the whole game. They only kind of understand their individual champion. This one was a game that got me to 32 marks, but obviously we played some more after that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.